It's time for the Northwoods Cooking Show. Starring Uncle Roy and Miss Callie, the troublemaking dog.
Hello, and welcome to the Northwoods Cooking Show. I'm your host, Uncle Roy, and my lovely assistant, I don't know if she's going to be awake much longer, Miss Callie Alice. Whoa! Come here, Callie, say hello to everybody. Yeah, oh, yeah, it's sitting pretty. On today's episode, we're going to be making some sweet and sour pork chops and a homemade, semi-homemade, pineapple upside down cake. And the cake's going to be short and simple, so it's not going to be hard for you to make at all. So first of all, we're going to start off with our sweet and sour pork chops. These are so good. I got a great deal on the store on assorted pork chops, which are much, much cheaper. And you can use any type of pork chop you want to, the large, the small, the thin, the thick, whatever. You know, whatever preference you want. I got the assortment, so it's much cheaper, and they have different sizes and different kinds, like the pork steaks, the smaller, thinner pork chops. And you can kind of separate those to make different meals with you, but the cheaper rate is, it's so much nicer. But first of all, we're going to take in our Dutch oven here. We're going to take and add, about a tablespoon of oil. We just want to take and brown up our pork chops first. We don't need a lot, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. And we'll just smooth that around. And then we'll just take and brown off our pork chops, and as they get done, then we'll just set those aside. These are nice, big ones. So I can just put those in the bottom of the pan. And we'll just take and let those go, let them brown. And while they're browning, we'll take and mix up the other ingredients. Now for this, we're going to be needing, about one medium-sized onion. And we want to take and just cut this and dice this up. You can put in as much or as little onion as you want to. I know some people just don't care for onion. And I got my new job there, and I'll do tuna salads and chicken salads and stuff like that. I make the egg salads. I can't put onions in because too many people complain. They don't want to. Well, they do office work there, and so they don't. When they have their meetings, they want to have onion breath. At least that's what I'm told. So we'll just take and dice these up into smaller dices. We don't want to mince them, but we don't want to have big, huge chunks. And we don't need to cook these thoroughly. All we're looking for is just to brown them. So it's okay if they're not cooked all the way through. Because then we're going to put in our marinade ingredients, and we're going to let these take and simmer for an hour. So that's when they get nice and tender. So we're just waiting for these to brown off, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. A half cup of white vinegar. And a half cup of brown sugar. Uncle Roy's got to watch himself on this one. I'm going to cali all the sugar in there. And then we need a quarter cup of soy sauce. And you can just pop off that little stopper on the end so it pours out much easier. And you don't have to sit there and shake it, which is such a pain to do. And then also with this, we need about a half teaspoon of ground ginger. And that's it. And this, we'll just take and mix this up. And we're going to take and lay our pork chops back inside. Ooh, Callie, these are going to be tasting so good. I know with my HD camera now that we have, which I like the high definition as far as the color and the look goes, that's really nice. But the hard thing is the frame size. I'm much wider now and shorter. So you can't always get Callie Alley in the pictures, can you? No, G.Y. Heel. And she's the star of the show. Oh, ain't that white, Callie? Yeah. So hello, everybody out there in the world. We need to take and cover and put this down to a simmer. And let that go for an hour. And then we'll come back and add more of our fruit and vegetables to this and thicken up the sauce too. And this is going to take an hour or so. The last 20 minutes or so, I'm going to take and make rice. We've done rice so many times, but I'll go over it again with you and show you how it's done. Very simple and easy. And for you, my viewers out there, if you have a favorite recipe of your own that you would like to see me and Callie try on the air, please mail it to us, email it to the Northwoods Cooking Show at yahoo.com, or you can take and mail it to the address that's on the show during our commercial in Brooklyn Park. We'd love to get, especially for those of you out in the other countries, I would love to get some of your homemade international favorite dishes, and I'd love to take and put them on the air here and share with our viewers in the States. So please send those recipes in to us at the Northwoods Cooking Show at yahoo.com. Thanks. And then I almost forgot, we also have to put in the juice off of the can of chunk pineapple that we're going to be using later. Well, Callie, we gotta clean up our mess here. Well, that's one thing we do. I might cut this out as far as editing goes, and if you're seeing this now, then I didn't. But I usually take, and always in between my recipes, in between dishes, I'm always wiping down and re-sanitizing my surface area. And I do this all the time. But when it comes for time restraints, I sometimes, when I have to get my show in a half an hour, sometimes I might film for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and cutting everything down to fit into a half-hour show, I have to cut this part out a lot. It's very important to do, but for time reasons, I want to get the recipe in. So hopefully you understand that I do sanitize my container, my working space a lot. So now we got to go on while the pork chops are cooking and simmering to our pineapple upside down cake. So let me get the equipment and be right back. Okay, now we're going to go on to the pineapple upside down cake. Now here's the easy part. I am just going to be making a box mix. I got lots of recipes for homemade cakes, and I've had them in my previous episodes, which you can find on YouTube and Facebook. Just hit the search and they'll pop right up. But I've been talking to people, and a lot of them just don't have the time to make things from scratch. So you can make this cake very simple and very easily from a box mix. All you need is your box mix, and go by the instructions on the box. I prefer to get a cake mix that calls for oil, because any of your mixes that do call for vegetable oil, it's always going to turn out really super moist. And that's what we want. We don't want to have one of those real hard, dry cardboard cakes. So this here just calls for the 3 eggs and a 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. Oh, look at that, Callie. Elliot, just exactly. Put that in recyclables. Oh, got to empty out the recyclables. Keep them full. And a cup of water. And you want to follow those instructions pretty well on the box too. That's why they're on there. You want that first 30 seconds to moisten up the batter, the dry ingredients and the eggs. Mix that up for 30 seconds. Then medium for about 3 to 4 minutes. Because when it gets light and fluffy, then your cake's going to rise better and get higher and fluffier. If you don't mix it long enough, your cake's going to be flat and it'll get tendency to hard. And a lot of people don't leave it on that 3 to 4 minutes. So you might even want to set your timer too, just to make sure. Set a medium and we'll put that back. And be sure to time that mixer now for 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, that's all mixed, nice and fluffy. Next, we're going to take and spray flour our pan. I have a 13 by 9 inch by 9 inch pan. And when in that, we're going to be pouring in 1 stick of butter, which is half a cup. Pour that into the bottom of your pan. Spread that around. And on top of this, we're going to be putting in 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And this is going to give us our caramel sauce for the pineapple upside down cake. And just take your brown sugar and break it up and just sprinkle around the whole entire bottom of the pan. You want to get that evenly distributed as best as you possibly can. That's going to make our caramel sauce. Now, on top of this, let's see, we're going to need our pineapple slices. And actually, Callie Alice, where'd you go? Oh, she's laying in the living room now, watching from afar. I'm just going to pour the remaining of this juice into my pork chops. Don't want to waste it. And we'll just take and line the bottom of the pan with our pineapple rings. Now you can try to get these in as many as you possibly can, and we'll see what we can get in here. You can get 6 in comfortably, but I want to try to squeeze in 12 if I can, because I would like to get a nice big pineapple chunk on each slice of cake. Just try to remember where I got those so I can cut it that way. And in the middle, now in the middle of each one of these, I want to put a maraschino cherry in the center of the pineapple circle. And make sure you just have that stem part where the stem was taken out of the cherry, have that facing up so that when this bakes, you won't see that stem hole. You'll have the top of the cherry, because this is all going to get turned upside down. And then we just take our batter and we're going to pour this right over the top of everything. Now you want to be careful on this batter too, because depending on the size pan you have, it does fill up the whole container for a cake. But because you got pineapple and the brown sugar in the bottom, you will probably use a little less of the batter because it might just overflow. I've had that happen too many times. It all depends on what kind of pan you put it in. So I'm going to put in not quite all of it, and I'm going to spread this around and just see how much I got left over. There's nothing worse than having this all overflow on you in the oven and you got a big old mess. And that looks just about right. I'd say I probably all bought about, except for maybe about a 1/3 cup of batter. And I can tap this down so that it spreads out evenly for you. And that just smooths it out and makes it fill into the pan much nicer. And then we'll just put this in a 350-degree oven, and this should probably bake for about 25 to 30 minutes, or until you insert a toothpick and it comes out. We're going to take and make the rice. I want quite a bit of rice left over. You can make as little or as much as you want, but I like to have extra rice. So it's 2 cups of water for 1 cup of rice. But I want to have extra, so I'm doing a double batch. Just because I like to have rice on hand to cook with, and it's great for me for leftovers. So, I'm going to cover that up so that it comes to a boil. Oh. And when it comes to a boil, I'll add my 2 cups of white rice to that. And then we time it for exactly 20 minutes. Turn it, water comes to a boil, add your rice. Turn it down to a simmer. Cover it and let it simmer for 20 minutes and you have perfect rice every time. So now we're going to take and add our vegetables to our pork chops. What I have here is a half of a green pepper. Cut that lengthwise, pull out the membranes and all the seeds. And I'm going to do half a green and half a red, just because I want color. And you want to cut these into larger chunks. And I like to do about an inch square to a half-inch square. Depends on the size of the pepper you're using. You just want to have bigger chunks is all. You can make them as big or as small as you want to, it doesn't really matter. I just like to have a bigger chunk when you do a sweet and sour so that you can see these big chunks mixed together in with the sauce. And then I got my pineapple here too. Can't forget that. And we'll take our pork chops out of the sauce that these have been marinating in. And we'll just take out our chops. Ooh, this smells good. They're almost falling apart right now. They're nice and tender. Oh, and they are. They are falling apart, Callie Alex. She's down in my bed napping. The princess is comfortable now. She don't want to be disturbed. As soon as the food's done, though, she'll be right up here in a second. She knows when it's done. I don't know how, but she does. Now we'll turn this heat up so we can bring this to a boil. For the sauce, I have 1.5 cups of water with a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. And we just mix this together. You want to make sure you use cold water, because that'll mix in with your cornstarch. If you use hot, your cornstarch won't dissolve. It'll start getting thick on you, like putty. We don't want that. Oh, Daddy's home. Daddy's home. And we just pour that right into the pot. Mix that up. Where's our spoon, Callie? Oh. And you want to bring this back to a boil. And when it does, then we'll just add our vegetables and fruit and let that simmer until we get the right nice thick consistency. And then we can just add our chops to the sauce and let that simmer too until the chops are heated thoroughly. And I almost forgot, I got 1 can of water chestnuts that go into that too. And that's going to give it a more oriental crunchiness to the texture of the sauce. And these you can drain because we don't want to have all that excess juice in there to thin out that sauce. And we'll just plop those right in. And we'll just stir this up. And this is all done practically. We just want to heat up all the ingredients. Those chops are nice and tender. And our cake just went off, so we'll take that out and we want to let that cool for 10 minutes before we turn it upside down. Okay, now we're going to turn the cake upside down. You want to make sure to spray your serving tray. Otherwise all that caramel sauce is going to stick to your pan, you won't be able to get it out. And we just center this over the cake. Turn that up. And you can let this sit for like about 30 seconds or so, just so that caramel sauce can drizzle down over the cake. And our rice is now done. And that's all great, and that's all great. Oh. And we'll just kick this up. Oh, Callie, look how pretty that is. Oh, Turned out really nice. Look at that. Mmm, cakers. Yeah. Turned out really pretty. I'll have to get a close-up of this one. And then we just cut off a piece and serve, and you can top it off with whipped cream or with vanilla ice cream. That's always a good treat too. Okay, now we'll just take and dish this up. Get my serving spoons out. And we're going to take and put a layer of rice on the bottom first. Ooh, Callie is looking good. Yeah, she comes around when the food's ready. Hey, look at her. She's right there staring. Yeah. Staring. And then we'll just put a pork chop on top of that. And we want to make sure we grab a lot of these veggies and fruit, pineapple and peppers. Put that over the top. And we have to cut ourselves a piece of pineapple upside down cake. Oh, see, here's the cutting. Oh, it's getting closer. And then this is our sweet and sour pork chop on the bed of rice with all the vegetables and pineapple and water chestnuts and pineapple upside down cake with a cherry in the center there. Mmm, that look good, Callies? Yeah! Well, so how did you enjoy those recipes? Boy, this pineapple upside down cake looks good. Mmm, and that pork chop dinner was fabulous. The chops were very tender and almost fell, and they did fall off the bone. So now it's our question and answer period time. If you have any questions for us on cooking or baking or canning, even gardening tips, write us at the Northwoods Cooking Show at yahoo.com, and Callie and I will try to get back to you as soon as we possibly can. And we might even put them on the air and put them in the jar so Callie can get her little treat. Is that right, Callie's? Oh, she's looking at the squirrels. Come here. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Oh, come here. Callie. Come here. Come here. Treat time. Come here. Get over. Come here. Get over here, Callie. Come here. Come here. Sit there. Come on. Come on. Oh, yeah. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. Hello. Hello. Sit pretty. Oh, yeah. She don't care. And that's just going to take her out for a walk. She's more important than going out of the house and going sniffing around the neighborhood. She's all excited. Well, let's see who wrote us this week, Callie. Dear Uncle Roy and Miss Callie, I'm wanting to purchase a bread machine. What kind do you recommend and why? And are they very expensive? Sign, Jane of Hudson City, Ohio. Thanks, Jane. Well, there's many different kinds out there, many different prices. The kind that I use has a rectangular container on the inside. And the one thing about that is when you start the machine in the first 2 to 3 minutes, you need to take a spatula and scrape the corners of the container of the product, the bread and the flour in there and stuff, in towards the center so that it gets incorporated with your dough. And if you forget to do that, your bread ain't going to turn out good at all. So you want to make sure you're always pushing that in. That's one of the faults on having the rectangular shaped one. The other thing is with the round ones, that round containers inside, they get all that product mixed in completely. But one of the problems I find out with the bread machines is that they don't brown the top of the bread. The heating coils are around the sides and underneath the container, but when your bread's all done and you take it out of the container, at the top is lighter, it's a lighter color than the sides and then the bottom. Also, when you take the bread out, then you have that big hole in the bottom of the loaf where the mixing bowl was. Allie's. She wants to go outside. So there's many different prices on there. What I like about them though is that they are nice for if you just set them on the dough cycle. So you can put in any recipe that you want to that's about 1 pound to 1.5 pound loaf into the machine and start it up. And at the end of the dough cycle, it's all ready for you to take out and shape into loaves and let rise the second time. So if you're making like a coffee breads or a different kind of bread that's shaped differently, like a round loaf or something, you can put it on the dough cycle, take it out, shape your dough, and then let it rise a second time and then let it cook. Whereas you can't do that in the machine, but the machine will take and mix the dough for you so you can run around and do other things at the same time. Let's see, the prices on those, there are different prices for different models. They average anywhere from $40 to $100 to $200 to $300. It all depends on what kind you want to get. The average is about $60 that you can get at a Walmart or Target, and there are pretty good ones, but you just want to check the inside compartment to see if it's rectangular or round. And if I was to purchase another one, I would just get the round one so I don't have to sit there and dig into the corners of the ingredients to make sure they're mixed. So, I hope that answers your question, Jane. And for Miss Callie and I, who's too busy waiting to go out on a walk, we want to say, eat healthy, be safe, and spread the sunshine. Say goodbye, Callies. Bye. Bye. Whoa, whoa.